Manchester United is a classic example of how not to do it, really.
Gary Neville and Sir Jim Ratcliffe are two of the biggest snakes in the footballing world right now. Make no mistake about it, their interview on The Overlap last night was nothing more than an exercise in PR in an attempt to manipulate the British public. If you're sat there applauding Jim for his honesty or Gary Neville for asking all the tough questions, then my friend, you've fallen hook, line and fucking sinker into their trap. Neville is nothing more than an Ineos puppet, and all the questions and answers we saw were carefully crafted by individuals who are paid a shit ton of money to make their exchange appear to be authentic, even though it's anything but. If you don't believe me, then look no further than the Times' paywalled article detailing the phone calls that took place between Ratcliffe and Neville over these last few months. For those of you unaware, there's a huge conflict of interest at play here. Neville owns Hotel Football, which is situated a stone's throw away from Old Trafford, while Ineos and Ratcliffe have the rights to all its surrounding areas. This is precisely why Neville was asked to head the Old Trafford Regeneration Task Force, despite having no experience whatsoever when it comes to building a new stadium. Clearly, the two are in bed with one another, yet Neville still pretends to be a Man United fan with nothing but the club's best interest in heart. Ultimately, the bloke is a businessman and only cares about getting a slice of the pie from the new construction. In some ways, this is unsurprising, given Neville also had fuck all coaching experience when he landed the Valencia job all those years ago through his mate Peter Lim, so it's not the first time he's been asked to oversee a task well above his remit through cronyism. As for the interview itself, the most embarrassing thing here is that Jim was banging on about the club being skint and having to sack the tea lady as they were going to go bankrupt by November this year, only to announce plans for a £2 billion, 100,000-seater stadium the very next day. It's shamelessness of biblical proportions, only made worse by the fact that he intends to fund much of the project through taxpayer money. Ratcliffe's lack of self-awareness was a sight to behold too. When asked about why he got rid of free lunches for staff, he stated it's because he himself never had a free lunch in his own life, before gaslighting United fans by asking rhetorically whether they prefer the club to spend their funds on free lunches for employees or a new player who might help them win some silverware. This is a bloke who has a net worth of £29 billion and weaseled his way out of paying £4 billion of that to the UK government in taxes by moving to Monaco, yet there's genuinely people out there who believes he gives a shit about United. I mean, bloody hell. 450 of United's 1,140 staff members were made redundant, while this old fuck continued to make bank in his cushy office in Knightsbridge. He was even stupid enough to compare United's wage bill with Nottingham Forest as opposed to City or Liverpool if you take injuries into account, conveniently forgetting that Forest are literally sat in third place right now, while United are hovering above the relegation zone. Neville, meanwhile, as he always does, played the role of champagne socialist to perfection by pretending to criticize the Glazers only to switch the blame for their demise onto the management team, or in other words, the likes of Ed Woodward. The pair of them ended things by detailing why ticket prices will increase again for next season, even though the team's performing at their worst in over 40 years. Personally, I feel like the idea of changing stadiums is a bit like building a new ballroom on the Titanic after it's hit the iceberg, cause clearly, United are knee deep in shit, and it's unlikely to get much better with Ineos' track record of owning sports teams. Subscribe if you liked the video, and don't if you thought it was shite. Peace.